We will move into our regular agenda. Again, if anyone wants to make comments to City Council, that will be permitted, as Solicitor Spadoni indicated, under the second courtesy of the floor at the end of the meeting. Mr. Spadoni, you have an additional comment?
As a result of this motion, second and vote, it is my intention to prepare a resolution reflecting the action of City Council, and I expect to have that available not later than the end of the week, and certainly available for your next meeting for Council's review.
Thank you. We will move to item 5, courtesy of the floor, for public comment on an ordinance or resolution to be voted on this evening by City Council with a 5-minute time limit. Ms. Negron, signed up.
Good evening. My name is Olga Negron, and I live at 1306 East 5th Street in Bethlehem.
Thank you.
I am here tonight not just as a resident and a community leader as of Bethlehem, but also as the Executive Director of the Hispanic Center. I became the Executive Director of the Hispanic Center in mid-October 2009, just over a year ago. Like anyone that starts a new job, I had lots to learn and figure out. As a matter of fact, I still do. I inherited everything. The programs running, the existing grants, the lost ones, the employees, the volunteers, the board members, the buildings, and along with that, the way everyone and everything was used to do for many years. Change is not easy, not for me, not for anyone. However, I take lots of pride in what I do, I always have, and that's why I work so hard at everything I do. I am proud of all the great feats we have accomplished, and in barely a year. Some of these assignments, some people don't even know about it, but that's okay. I do know, and therefore I get to be proud. One of the problems I learned very quickly was the fact that we own more buildings than we could keep up with. Therefore, first action I took was to sell the building at 120 East 4th Street. The building was an eyesore to my community. It was placed on a blighted property list, and we didn't have money to fix it. We sold the building right away and put the money back into a general fund to fix the other buildings we own, which also needed lots of work. We replaced the roof of the Fowler Youth Center building on 502 East 4th Street, completed maintenance work at both of our buildings, including electrical work, new furnace, ceiling roof, insulation, storage room, equipment, floors, gutters, exit lights, alarms, paint work, all to reach close to $60,000. Most of the work needed to be done in order to keep it functioning, to be safe or in compliance with city ordinances. Another one of my inherited headaches is the garage behind the Fowler Youth Center. Before I started working for the Hispanic Center, the garage was a headache for me already. Why? Because I live only 6 blocks away from the center. This is my neighborhood. I know what blighted property does to a neighborhood. It was my understanding then that we had requested permission to fix the garage. When I looked through our records, there was an outrageous amount of $26,000 needed to fix the building, primarily due to the damage to the foundation of the building. Needless is to say, we don't have that amount of money, and my board directors guided me to find out how much it would cost to demolish the building. We got proposals from 3 different companies. We learned that under $10,000 we could demolish and create usable parking space. We presented this to Historic Conservation Commission, South Bethlehem and Mount Airy, and they of course presented their legit concern for demolishing a historic building. We all visited the facility together, came with an agreement to demolish only a portion of the walls, keeping a nice, maintained portion of the walls all around the garage, and keeping the beautiful iron fence wall on the side. This was to keep the historical touch to the site. Demolishing only a portion of the walls due to the condition of the building is going to have to be done mostly by hand in order to preserve the stonework without damaging it more. This will still cost close to $10,000, but we are able to afford that, and we also understand the importance of preserving as much as we can from the beautiful historical buildings. I know that it is a shame that the building was not kept in a better shape throughout the years and that it had to get to this stage. And I also need to say and remind you that I became an executive director barely a year ago. At this point, it has been condemned, and unfortunately, it is unsafe beyond repair. I ask you, members of City Council, to please support my efforts to keep improving our facilities and keep beautifying our Southside Bethlehem and allow us to do the partial demolition of our garage as agreed with the Historical Conservation Commission, South Bethlehem and Mount Airy. Thank you.
Thank you. Aria Ortiz.
Good evening. As you are, sometimes I'm sitting...
Name and address, just for the record.
Yes, my name is Audia Ortiz, and I am a resident at 1628 East 6th Street. As you are, I also sit on some boards, and I'm not going to say which one. I am a youth program coordinator at the Fowler Youth Center, and we are directly affected by this property. I'm here tonight, like I said, as a resident of the South Side and also the youth program coordinator. The garage behind our Fowler Youth Center is a safety hazard for our youth. Our program runs up to 6 p.m. and during the winter it gets very dark and some students have to walk. And the facility has an easy access for anyone to hide behind the backyard, the building. With the proposed agreement to demolish only a portion of the walls, keep in mind to maintain portion of the walls all around the garage place, and having a fence that will keep intruders out of our facilities, it is a win situation for all of us. We have to understand that the building is being used by youth, and it has to be safe. The only way that we could do this is by demolishing the garage, as it has been stated. Many people could come and say as they wish, but they're not there. They're not there at night, the youth is there, and we are all there. Please consider the ones whose safety is at risk before making any decision. Thank you for your attention and for helping us provide a safe place for our youth to have fun and learn at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Parks.
Good evening, members of council. My name is Jeffrey Parks. I reside at 223 East Church Street in our beautiful city. And I'm here to speak in favor of the Certificate of Appropriateness for 502 East 4th Street. I am one of the strongest believers in historic preservation. There's two parts to that term, historic and preservation. History is not a dead subject, it's an evolutionary subject, and we are continuing to write the history of our community and our South Side. I'm here to speak in favor of my colleague Olga Negron and the Council of Spanish-Speaking Organizations, which does great work for our community. There is a garage, and let's face it, it's a garage that they need to remove and make way for the future history that they're creating with the youth with whom they're working. They've respected our history by agreeing to keep the iconic fence and other remnants of this garage, but this public safety hazard needs to be removed. I am in favor of restoring and keeping a lot of buildings where possible, but I think we need to walk carefully where private property is involved and where a nonprofit that's truly serving our community in many great ways is faced with costs that they cannot afford to meet with a total restoration of this type of building. I appreciate your consideration and hope you will vote to approve the Certificate of Appropriateness for 502 East 4th Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Conrad.
Thank you, members of council. My name is Ryan Conrad, and with the Lehigh Valley Association of Realtors, 10 South Commerce Way, Bethlehem, 18017. I'm here to speak about bill numbers 48 and 49, dealing with the housing inspection fees. I'm here on behalf of the 2,200 realtors that practice real estate throughout the Lehigh Valley, many of which live and practice in Bethlehem. And the first thing I want to mention, and I had the privilege of being at the Finance Committee last month, is to reiterate our position that we support the rental inspection programs, the housing inspection programs. We think that these types of programs, coupled with realistic inspection requirements, result in higher quality housing and safer housing. And higher quality housing and safer housing results in a better community in which to live and work. So we think that the way that Bethlehem has been operating the program is very good. We've had a very good success rate and positive feedback from our realtor members. But we do have some serious concerns about the proposed fee increases and the potential negative effects that it could pose on homeowners and responsible landlords in the city. The various increases are substantial, ranging anywhere from 25 to 66%, and certainly a property tax increase of that magnitude would certainly raise some eyebrows. Because we're talking about smaller dollar figures, doesn't mean that it has less of an impact. So we have some concerns about that. And during the last month's Finance Committee meeting, much of the focus was on the charges assessed by neighboring municipalities. And while that's fine to look at what other municipalities charge for inspection programs, what we really need to focus on is the fees being assessed commensurate with the cost to actually administer the program? And if it's not, if you find that your fees are too low and they need to be raised, then you would have to substantiate that, and if that's the case, then there's really nothing to be concerned about. But if they don't, if they're essentially making money and it's being used to plug a general fund deficit, then that raises some concerns. It's not only unfair, but it potentially violates the constitutional requirement for essentially tax fairness, and there's case law to support that. And we're also concerned that despite the fee increases, which are substantial, property owners might actually see a decrease in the services under the inspection program. And that's because the program is actually proposing to reduce the number of housing inspectors, so you'll have less inspectors to conduct the inspections. It eliminates funding for any temporary help that might be able to help out. And it actually reduces the total housing inspection budget by 25%. Now, while that's actually all good things, it sort of doesn't make sense when you're asking responsible property owners and responsible landlords to pay more and get less of a service in return for that. Certainly we recognize that the city is facing a financial hardship like other municipalities, but it is also worth noting that responsible property owners, consumers, and the real estate industry in general are facing equally difficult economic hardships. For example, according to the Lehigh Valley Association of Realtors Multiple Listing Service, the number of new residential listings by realtors in the city has decreased by nearly 30% since 2007, and the actual number of sales has decreased by 37% since 2007. So consequently, the fee increases of this magnitude being considered will only serve to exacerbate those economic hardships. So therefore, we strongly recommend that City Council reevaluates the proposed inspection fees to ensure they're commensurate with the actual costs to administer the program. And until such time, LVAR will be opposed to the current fee increases being proposed until we can see that they are substantiated. We have sent a letter to this effect to everyone on council. We sent it to the mayor's office. I've since exchanged some emails with Tony Hanna, and he's been very helpful. We had a series of questions that we were hoping to get answered, and he assured me that he would work on that and look into it for us. So if there are any questions after the meeting, next 2 weeks or so before you adopt the budget, we'd be happy to answer them. We look forward to working with you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Mr. Huda?
My name is Roger Hudak. I live at 1256 East 5th Street. I'm Olga's neighbor. Olga's also a very important partner to the Southside Task Force, which I am the chair. And the garage of which Olga spoke about, I looked at yesterday. The roof is caved in. It has the doors are shambles. It has a condemned sign on it, and it has to be fixed. What they wanted to do was to demolish the entire thing, but they did the right thing in that they went through the organization that reviews historic buildings, and they came up with a compromise. And I've been in contact with a lot of you on council already concerning this. I think it's a great compromise, and I hope that you will approve it so that we can move ahead and get rid of that blight. It is really nasty, and I hope some of you had the opportunity to stop down there and check it out. It has graffiti, and really is a mess. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Pungratz?